So, concerning Hotep Negroes, what's your feeling regarding that?
Oh man, and them cats are like horny, man. Like one, they're telling people a bunch of knowledge that like we kind of really know, and they just think that we don't know it. It's more like people like, okay, cool, but we don't care, or we like, or it's like we acknowledge it, but we still gotta make this money to pay rent. So like you screaming at me to wake up, it's like I'm woke. It's like you do something. So I don't know. Like,
Yeah, I mean that's the bag, in regards to it's like a dated technique.
yeah, it's like marching.
It's a grassroots approach to raise consciousness, almost with the belief that if you wake up enough people, then you can realize, black power.
Right.
And because there's so many options, because oppression is fluid in the sense of it doesn't look the same decade after decade, so the organizing shouldn't look the same.
Right.
So there is no one way to organize. There's obviously been organizing styles that were popularized courtesy to
MLK.
yeah, in particular, like very, very public figure. But getting things accomplished and getting them done doesn't always look like a Negro civil rights approach. And then what's interesting about that is that you catch a lot of white organizers using that same approach as though it's still the 1950s and 60s. So because they're at a standstill with their creativity in regards to protesting, the assumption is that this is the most effective way since everybody protests in this manner. You feel me?
Right.
So you catch the so-called Hotep Negro using an approach that may have worked in the 1950s, not viewing it in a broad perspective. The perspective being that segregation was real and it was softening the soil. So obviously you're more receptive with an open enemy. You know what I'm saying? Somebody directly telling you can't do this, you can't do that, versus how oppression looks. The various forms of oppression, how they kind of angle now. It's like you look up and it's another brown body person doing the bidding. You see what I'm saying? It's not an open racist white man yelling,
racial slurs at you.
Exactly. So the people aren't being seasoned, or the soil isn't being turned. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So planting seed at this point is going to look different. Actually, it's going to look like action. So if you want this change in consciousness, it's not going to be, here's a book on this. I know you've been looking for your true self. You know what I'm saying? Because people aren't looking for their true selves. They're kind of having a blast. You know what I'm saying? Like very hedonistic. Chilling even. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just working, just trying to survive. They don't have necessarily the same expression or the same level of radicalism that they had in previous decades.
I think it's to piggyback off that. I think it's preachy. It comes off as really preachy, and you'll catch cats saying like, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual, and that's kind of the same feeling you get with the outdated tactics and like approach. Like you
saying that they're not religious.
Well, I was using it as an example. Like, you'll hear somebody say, like, I'm not really religious. I don't really subscribe to one particular religious, but I'm spiritual, right? Mm-hmm. So it's the same thing when you talk about, like, consciousness. Like, wake up. It's like, it's preachy. It comes off as preachy. Like, somehow we're not doing enough, or, like, you could do better. So it's the same thing. It's the same reason why a lot of people fled the church, or they go to New Age churches, because it's like, we got that message. But
less judgment.
Yeah, less judgment, and they come off very judgy, so, and it's also, like you said, outdated. So it's like, who wants to watch, like, old movies? Like, there's some gems and some classics, but we have new film techniques. We have new recording techniques. Mm-hmm. Even when you listen to old hip-hop, old hip-hop's fun. Like, it's cool. You see the technique, but you also can see the evolution from, the old school rapper like a Big Daddy Kane to Kendrick now, like who has evolved all those forms into the rap style. So it's the same thing when you're talking about organizing or something like that. It's you need to evolve, and it's the same message. We don't need to.
Yeah, I mean, and I also think behind it is also an esteem that is being developed. That may not have been there previous to them waking up. So it's it's an excitement, it's an eagerness to say, yo, like, get on what I'm on. You know what I'm saying? I'm feeling better, I'm thinking clearer. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? This is changing my life. So I think that maybe, or at least at one point, the so-called Hotep Negro was coming from a good place. You know what I mean? Now I don't know if it's, with social media, it's hard to tell what's authentic.
It's also kind of it's cliche right now. And, it's they fit. It's almost a stereotype now. Like you can almost guess like what they're gonna say next. You can guess what they're on. Like I'm on this now. I'm on these scented candles. I'm on this.
Okay, well with cliches, why is the cliche of Negro entertainment still dialed into? It's kind of cliche. Oh, you can get rich. You can buy gold chains. You're gonna. You feel me? Like that doesn't somehow play out, but the cliche of somebody saying that all humanity started, in Africa is like gets boring. Like,
yeah, I don't know why that gets boring. But I do think that I don't know if it gets boring. I think it's like a known. It's like the same reason I don't watch slave movies. Like I'm not gonna keep watching these movies. Like I got it. I know what happened. Like and I was never not unaware of it. Like some people might have been unaware of everything that went on, but I'm not. Those movies don't do nothing for me but get me angry, and maybe that's what they're supposed to do.
No, go ahead and finish your thought.
Right. So it's just I think people are expressing their blackness in different ways, and when you're talking to this Hotep dude, it's like they only want you to express it in one way. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have to wear a dice cheeky and wear the Pan-African colors to like be black. You know what I'm saying? Like I can express it by my artwork. By creativity, I can express it by building businesses. Like so, there's other ways to express it by looking and moving in a certain manner.
Yeah, well, what slave movies? I think that they could be beneficial if they were filmed correctly. As you see, like the Jewish Holocaust movies, is at least one major flick annually.
As a reminder of what happened.
Yeah, but it politicizes them. Like it keeps them in tune. It keeps the world in tune to the suffering that they experience. It reminds them, to keep their Jewish ethics intact. At least that's how it appears as an outsider. I'm not a Jewish man.
Right.
Whereas if you use, the Holocaust of enslavement and weaponized it, in the sense that it created a sense of solidarity. Like if you showed the sides of enslavement where there was effective resistance instead of just always ended in a lynching or somebody getting bullied on film in whatever way.
Yeah, or women getting raped. I'm not a fan of watching L's. I'm not a fan of watching us take L's. So I'm not going to participate in taking L's. I mean, that's why Django is one of those movies that I could watch because it was somebody taking a win.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Although that wasn't an historical flick. I mean, first of all, movies in general are not documentaries.
They're not.
Yeah, so if you want like actual tales or biopics, you look in the wrong place. Like Hollywood is not producing that. Whereas Django was entertaining as well as inspiring from those at least that I rap with. Although it was fictional, and that's what I'm saying. If you're in the business of storytelling and you see that the people are subjugated to nonsense and confusion, then why not make an entertaining flick that clears it up?
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying? So with the Hotep cat, I don't know what techniques beyond just actually work at this point can deliver that message in a way that the average person that they're trying to wake up would even care about. You see what I'm saying? So it's definitely a dated approach.
Yeah.